Earlier, I explained to you what is meant by juvenile and juvenile delinquency. I have also told you about the evolution of juvenile justice system in the pre-independence period and post-independence period. I have given an analytical picture of the causes of juvenile crimes and their impact on the society. In this unit, we will see the details of juvenile correction, both institution based and community based. The Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2000, amended in 2006, has become a landmark in the sphere of juvenile correction. Juvenile correction consists of both institution based and community based measures. These two categories of juvenile correction measures are discussed in this unit. The learning objectives of this unit are: you will understand from this unit the meaning and scope of juvenile correction, types of juvenile delinquency, need for juvenile correction, rights of the child, institution based juvenile corrections, juvenile correction institutions existing in India, community based juvenile corrections, drawbacks and deficiencies of the existing system, suggestions for improvement. Now, let us see the meaning and scope of juvenile correction. Earlier, we have studied the juvenile justice system in some details. With this background, now we turn to a study of juvenile corrections. Juvenile correction refers to applying the correctional measures to two categories of youth, namely the juveniles who are not serious delinquents but commit some small offences like disobedience to parents, teachers in the schools or peers, lead a life of gay governed by a false sense of heroism, committing small thefts, etc. This may be called juvenilism. Changing lifestyle and socio-economic changes, unfriendly school atmosphere are said to be the sources of juvenilism. Lavish spending by the youth of the well-to-do sections of society is another dimension of juvenilism. In modern criminology, we find different viewpoints relating to crimes and juvenilism. There is a general opinion that if juvenilism is not checked and the juveniles disciplined, they may tend to become juvenile delinquents. When a juvenile becomes a juvenile delinquent, he is called youth in conflict with law. That is, when a juvenile commits an act of crime punishable under Indian Penal Code, he becomes a juvenile delinquent or juvenile offender. In practice, when a juvenile turns into juvenile delinquent and subsequently an adult criminal, the dividing lines between the three sides become very thin and disappear in due course. Studies have proved that many adult criminals had a criminal background during their juvenile period. Now, we will see types of juvenile delinquents. Juvenile delinquents are of various types. They are solo juvenile delinquents. Such juvenile delinquents generally belong to well-to-do families and exhibit a psychological imbalance. This may be due to lack of parental attention at a very young age and consequent loneliness. This generally creates a hatred for anything or anybody and leads one to abnormal behavior. Group controlled juvenile delinquents. Such juvenile delinquents generally belong to middle class families and are influenced by luxurious living style of the rich people around them. In an urge to lead a life with motorbike, money, pubs and girls, they consciously resort to criminal activities such as stealing, robbery, dacoity, rape and murder. India is now witnessing increasing trends in such juvenile delinquencies. Juvenile delinquents by situation. Some abnormal situations also become a source of juvenile delinquency. For example, when some injustice or something wrong is done to the parents or siblings of a youth by someone, the youth turns into an act of vengeance, which may become a criminal act. Labeled juvenile delinquents. These are delinquent youth who were labeled as delinquents in the school or in the surroundings in which they live because of some abnormal behavior in their young age. This creates a strong conviction in them and they resort to criminal activities of a higher order to prove their label. Also, when a youth in conflict with law is convicted and sent to special home for reform, he may be strongly influenced by the labeling and may turn into full-fledged delinquent. Copycat juvenile delinquents. These are youth who are influenced by the media like journals, TV and films which exhibit sensational crimes in a heroic manner. Such youth in turn try to copy which they see in the media. Thus, the typology of juvenile delinquency has its own significance in the trials and convictions awarded to them. Need for a separate system of juvenile correction. The need for a separate system of juvenile correction can be understood from the following points. The psychologists, criminologists and sociologists consider that children up to the age of 7 are quite innocent and are governed by a momentary impulse for doing things. It may also be due to natural impulse. Only after 7 years of age, children start thinking for themselves and are generally governed by self-motivation with an occasional touch of feelings for others, particularly those who are close to them in the family or in the friend circle. Sense of judgment in a child develops only after 10 years and up to 17 years, but even in this age, they are more governed by feelings of excitement and ecstasy, which often blunt their sense of judgment. The psychologists consider that only after 18 years of age, when the child crosses the adolescent period and gets transformed into a man or woman, he or she starts thinking with fuller sense of judgment. Moreover, until the age of 18, a child or a youth is more governed by the impact of socio-economic and environmental situations. Therefore, the child or a youth in teens does many things without any criminal intention. At the most, he or she may have a touch of selfish interest. Between the age of 10 and 17, a youth is also governed by group culture or group behavior, which is normally found in the schools or outside the schools. Yet another source of juvenilism is the media, comprising films, TV, video, journals and magazines. The youth at this age are governed by a false sense of heroism, a sense by which they want to imitate the hero or villain in the films. Therefore, if criminal intent is taken as an internal factor, all the points stated so far only focus on some kind of external influences. Thus, it could be easily concluded that juveniles become juvenile delinquents very much due to the influence of the external factors, and these external factors explain the need for a separate system of juvenile justice and juvenile correction. Now, let us see the rights of the child and juveniles. The UN has very carefully drafted the rights of the child or juveniles in its Convention on the Rights of the Child adopted by its General Assembly resolution on 20th November 1989. The resolution came into practice on 2nd September 1990. It was ratified by all member countries except the United States and Somalia. The following broad principles were agreed upon by the UN. In the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of December 1948, the UN has proclaimed that childhood is entitled to special care and protection. the child should grow up in a family environment because family is a nucleus of the society. Then only the child could have the full and harmonious development of his or her personality. The child should be enabled to understand the spirit of peace, dignity, tolerance, freedom, equality and solidarity. The UN Declaration of the Rights of the Child indicates that the child needs special safeguards and care by the reason of his or her immaturity. The Beijing Rules on Standard Minimum Rules for Administration of Juvenile Justice 1985 laid down provisions for the protection and welfare of children, including foster placement and adoption of children nationally and internationally. Children living in exceptionally difficult conditions need special consideration. These are the broad principles which are given to the member nations by the UN for enacting laws to protect the young children and youth from the evils of the society. The member nations have enacted laws accordingly to suit their respective national environments. India has duly observed the principles of the UN and enacted laws to protect the interests of the children and youth up to 18 years of age. Encouraged by Poland's initiative in this regard, the UN General Assembly proclaimed the year 1979 as the International Children's Year. The International Children's Year of 1979 was to be the year of intensive action at the national level to improve the situation of the children. The UN has also insisted that programs for children should be an integral part of the overall socio-economic development plan. A working group was appointed by the UN to guide the member states in enacting laws to safeguard the children's rights. The UN has created organizations like UNICEF to guide the member states in the direction of promoting the welfare of the children. A monitoring mechanism of the Convention on the Rights of the Child has been created by the UN by appointing a committee on the rights of the child. Further, the UN has laid the fundamental principles for the protection of juveniles deprived of their liberty in the General Assembly resolution of 14th December 1990, proclaimed in Riyadh. This proclamation also included guidelines for the prevention of juvenile delinquency by emphasizing a long-term policy for child development, their education and socio-economic conditions. Now, let us pass on to juvenile corrections. First, we will see the institution-based juvenile corrections. There are many departments and committees involved in the juvenile correction. They are the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, State Advisory Committees, State Monitoring Committee, Ministry of Child and Women Development Department, Ministry of Education, National Human Rights Commission, State Human Rights Commission, Department of Higher Technical Training, Department of Finance, Juvenile Justice Boards consisting of magistrates and social workers, probation officers, police juvenile units, railway police, district state rehabilitation committee. These departments and organizations are performing different functions in extending support to the institution-based juvenile corrections. In the background of their support, the following institutions and organizations are contributing their might to the juvenile corrections and reformation. Now, we will pass on to see the juvenile correction institutions existing in India. In India, the following types of institutions are functioning in the sphere of juvenile corrections and rehabilitation. First, we have the juvenile courts. Juvenile courts have been established in most of the district courts or outside the district courts to separately treat the juvenile delinquents from other adult criminals. If juvenile courts are not set up in a district, special arrangements may be made to create temporary courts with judicial officers who are well versed with juvenile laws. The aim of juvenile laws is not mere punitive sanction for the offence committed by the juvenile. The objective of proportionality is said to be in the center place of the juvenile justice. This implies that not only the gravity of the offence committed by the juvenile, but also the personal circumstances and other socio-economic backgrounds should be given due importance. It was resolved in the Beijing Conference of November 1985 to give due regard to basic procedural safeguards like presumption of innocence, the right to be informed about the charges, the right to remain silent, the right to counsel, the right to the presence of the parents or guardians, the right to confront and cross-examine the witnesses, the right to appeal to a higher authority, and the right to privacy by avoiding undue publicity. Next, we have the remand homes. When a child under the age of 18 is arrested on charges of an offence, he or she is to be produced before the juvenile court within 24 hours and kept in remand home till the case is investigated and until the final disposal of the case. If the trial and investigations are in favor of the juveniles, the latter may be released from the remand home. Such remand homes are generally run by NGOs with government support. And then next we have certified schools. Certified schools have been established with a view to provide general education and technical training to the children found guilty by the juvenile court. These schools are meant for the juveniles who are awarded a long-term sentence. These schools are of two categories as junior schools and senior schools. Junior schools are meant for children under 12. Senior schools are meant for children under 16. The school authorities may decide for early discharge of the children and place them under the charge of a probation officer. And then we have the reformatory schools. Reformatory schools have been established in states where there are no children acts. Delinquent boys under 15 are educated and are put on vocational training in these schools. Generally, such delinquent boys are detained here from 3 to 7 years. And then we have the Borstal schools. The name Borstal school came into usage since 1925 when a school for orphan children was created in a village called Borstal near the town of Kent in England. On the pattern of Borstal School of Britain, many countries created Borstal schools. In India, there are Borstal schools in many states. They provide special treatment for adolescent children between 15 and 21 years. Two types of Borstal schools have been created in India. They are open type school and closed type school. Open type school is a camp in the open country with no security walls, while the closed type school is like maximum security prison. Young offenders are generally sent to the Borstal schools for 2 to 3 years. The period of detention does not exceed 5 years. The training, physical exercise and education given to the inmates of Borstal schools are very tough, so that they would not commit any offence in future. And we have the children homes next. Young children up to 5 years of age without parents or home are accommodated in children homes. Care and protection are the main objectives of the children homes. These are also managed by private bodies and philanthropists. In spite of these schools and institutions, the problem of juvenile delinquency poses serious problem. The problem needs to be addressed from all angles. Institutional correctional measures have many drawbacks like corruption, red tapeism, abuse of power, etc. Now we turn to the community participation in juvenile correction. It is now widely accepted that the criminal justice functionaries cannot afford to keep the community away from correctional policies, particularly with reference to the juveniles. Srivastava says, any amount of increase in policemen, judges and correctional personnel of various sorts will at best prove to be a temporary solution to the baffling problem of crime and delinquency. This is because many drawbacks are found with the government based institutional correctional measures such as corruption, red tapeism and bureaucracy, indifference, partiality, etc. Such anomalies will jeopardize the juvenile correction. Volunteerism is more welcome in this sphere. Community participation in correctional administration may be of formal modalities or informal modalities. Formal modalities of community based corrections refer to voluntary organizations which have well defined functions and which are also supported by the respective state governments. In most of the states, there are such voluntary organizations which provide care and protection to the orphaned juveniles. Two examples may be cited here for formalized voluntary organizations. One is the Prayas of Jahangirpur, Delhi, which was established in 1988 with 28 children. The Prayas was established by a joint initiative of the Delhi Police, Delhi School of Social Work and Shramik Vidya Peeth following a devastating fire in one of the slums of North Delhi. The fire had left a large number of children in destitute condition. Now it reaches thousands of street children and children of the slums of Delhi with a network of big and small projects. Prayas, as the organizers claim, provide non-formal education, midday meals, vocational training, placement facilities to adults, self-employment facilities, shelter homes, recreation, health services, etc. It has a child line which helps the children in distress. Another such organization is the Boys Town at Madurai in Tamil Nadu, which is supported by a Germany based voluntary organization which provides accommodation, food, education along with vocational training and sports and games to poor and destitute children. Many such voluntary child welfare organizations in the country are providing services to the abandoned, neglected, orphaned and homeless children with 50 to 90% of assistance from the Government of India. There is a general consensus that such voluntary organizations are doing better than the government based departments in the sphere of activity. There are also non-organizational and non-formal community participation in juvenile correction. S.K. Dogra mentions the following 4 types of community participation in juvenile correction: adoption, foster care, sponsorship and sending the child to an aftercare organization. Although certain formalities are observed in these 4 methods of community participation, these methods are not government based. Adoption refers to an orphaned child being legally taken by a family as its own child. Foster care means a family or any individual coming forward to meet the expenditure incurred towards the food, education, etc. of a child in a child welfare home. Sponsorship means an individual or a family or an organization taking the responsibility of putting a group of children in a school for education for a year or 2. Lastly, a juvenile delinquent who has completed his sentence in a special home or boarding school may be sent to an aftercare home for necessary care and protection and guidance. But there are very few aftercare homes in the country. Most of such boys are sent back to their families and placed under the purview of a probationary officer. In spite of various legislative provisions and generous financial support from the central and state governments to the child welfare organizations, public participation in this sphere of activity continues to be very unsatisfactory. Different types of community organizations and NGOs are involved in the juvenile correction. The type of community organization may differ from state to state. Such community organizations are taking care of the orphan and marginalized children. Many community organizations involved in the juvenile care and protection do not have funds of their own and depend upon government support or public contribution. Some of them also depend on foreign funds. The UNICEF, which is an UN organization, is providing funds to the member nations for the protection of the health of the children, for providing them nutritious food, to protect them from diseases, and to provide educational facilities to the children of the underdeveloped world. Now we will see the drawbacks of the existing system. Generally, there is a vast gap between the policy frame and the policy on the ground, because adverse ground realities are not generally visible. Although the Children Act specifically spell out that institutions and agencies concerned with juvenile correction shall provide care, protection, welfare, education and vocational training and create avenues for their rehabilitation. However, experts like M.S. Bedi and Srivastava feel that this is far from realization because of the many problems found in reality. They are problematic background of the inmates of the special homes or boarding schools, too many formalities and too much of authority exercised by the licensing and supervisory departments, haphazard approach to the juvenile delinquents at the point of entry to the special home or boarding school, inadequate planning and supplies in the special home and boarding school. Inmates of the special homes and boarding schools punished severely even for the slightest lapse and always kept in terror by the authorities. Agencies providing community facilities not adequately financed. Too much emphasis on punishment and custody. Abuse of the inmates by the home authorities. Lack of aftercare service and observation. Now we come to suggestions for improvement of the situation. Every law-abiding adult member of the society should understand that children provide the basis for the future society or the nation. The institutional and non-institutional correctional measures are only short-term measures with regard to juvenile correction. The long-term measures in this sphere involve the participation of the families at the grassroots level. This needs some orientation given to the families or parents regarding the upbringing of their children. Next comes educational institutions at the primary, secondary and collegiate levels. Such educational institutions have a great responsibility in shaping the morale and discipline of the children, besides providing them education. Children of unusual mood and abnormal culture need to be identified for counseling and consoling. The educational institution is the place where children could understand the social values and values of the heritage. The government role is also significant in this regard. Studies have proved that adverse economic conditions like poverty and unemployment play havoc in the family and social values. Adequate measures are needed to alleviate poverty and unemployment in the short period as well as long period.